Well, it's a weird week, that's for sure, because it's a short week for the Denver Broncos as they look forward to face the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday night. So our Saturday game plan, Mace, becomes our Wednesday game plan here on Orange and Blue today.
Yep, and in a week like this, the focus is more on what you're doing or not doing than the opponent. This is sort of an interesting dynamic that kind of goes on in this game. You're focusing kind of on the basics in this kind of game. This is one where if you've got some problems, this is not the week where you're doing anything really new to fix them. This is the week where you're kind of focusing more on the things that you know you do well to kind of get through this game. And then maybe next week you start focusing on fixing the glitches. So, all right, the Broncos are still a team that generally isn't starting that well. Don't look for anything new in this game to try to change that. Instead, look for them more to lean into the things that have worked for them to get to 7-2, to get on this 6-game winning streak. This is a week in which you're looking for simplicity in terms of the preparation. You know, as Quinn Miners said, less is more, and that's not just in preparation, but in terms of like physical recovery and in terms of just what you're putting on your plate mentally. So you're trying to kind of keep things down to the essentials, really, because of the limited time you have to get ready for this game.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned the week, Mace, because the opponent does count, okay? And we will talk about the Raiders and containing Brock Bowers and all that. But it's really the week prepares this for a condensed version, which, by the way, when we were out there on Tuesday at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit, I love that attitude. I love that mindset of like, hey, let's go real simple. Let's play the hits.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. We talked about you on the air today because we're like, Mace was talking about you want your hits and you don't want the jazz session, right? Or
the
it's just impromptu.
Jazz Odyssey from Spinal Tap, the freeform jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd. This is not the week to experiment.
Right.
This is just you go with what you know in this, that what you know works. Like, so, you know, defensively, this is probably not the week where you're introducing new pressure packages. This is where you're kind of going with the tried and true. Of course, you're not going to have Pat Surtain again. That was confirmed Wednesday. No surprise, of course, because he did not practice on Tuesday, and he was listed DNP on the estimated injury report on Monday. So no Pat Surtain once again. No Marvin Mims Jr. on returns again because he did not practice. He's not through a point on the concussion protocol where he's able to go as well. So you're having to navigate through that as well. By the way, very interesting little thing, a little note, and it does kind of correspond to Marvin Mims Jr. Remember Jalen Virgil, right?
Of course, love him.
He was in for a visit on Wednesday.
Hell of a return man, too.
Yes, and so you wonder, he's been around, he knows. Now, he wasn't here for Darren Rizzi, but, you know, are the Broncos going to maybe take a look at him perhaps to kind of fill in on returns? Maybe it's not something you're doing it immediately, but does that also reveal some concern about Marvin Mims Jr. going forward? That's, I think, something to think about.
Yeah, and because last time we saw Marvin Mims, he got rocked, and so you just it's a brain bruise, everybody, so you want to be as careful as possible. Every concussion is different. There's no such thing as like a small concussion, light concussion. Like, no, everyone is different. You deal with it, and you treat it differently, and you follow league concussion protocol. So let's put a pin in that, and yeah, it's kind of a disappointment after we thought maybe in this short week that Mims would be out there.
Yeah, I mean, and now what is the plan? Is it going to be, is it Michael Bandy again after he muffed the punt on Sunday? You'd say probably, but then you just hope he doesn't muff another one. It already cost you 3 points in Houston, 3 points that could have proven quite crucial. I mean, in a game that went down to the wire. So you hope for the Broncos' sake it doesn't turn out that way again, that it doesn't end up proving crucial.
Yeah, and you hope that offensively against the Raiders you can start fast. Raiders play a lot of cover 3. Bo Nix and his best touchdowns come against some man coverage, not necessarily the zone coverage you're going to see. In fact, I believe 5 of his interceptions have come against zone. Let's top my head, Mace. So it's okay. Take care of the ball. You're not going to get much pressure. Bo Nix is one of the least pressured quarterbacks, and the Raiders are one of the defenses that don't get pressure. We can talk about Max Crosby and containing him and taking care of him, but it seems like a comfortable Bo Nix running a simplified thing, playing the hits. I mean, this all sounds like just candy to me.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, he's not necessarily as good as you'd like with a clean pocket, though, right? So that's he hasn't always been able to exploit that as well as you'd like him to. So, I mean, that sounds good. That sounds well and good, but he hasn't always been able to maximize that. And certainly you'd like to. There are things that you'd like to see in terms of him becoming more efficient, in terms of him taking advantage of the opportunities there in front of him from start to finish, not just at the end of the game. I mean, how do you get to where you see, in terms of proficiency and efficiency, how do you get to where you see fourth quarter Bo from start to finish? And by the way, even though the Broncos did get it done on Sunday, and it was against a very tough Arizona defense, it's not like Bo Nix's numbers in the fourth quarter were all that great. I mean, he made the plays when he had to, but you're also still talking about 9 of 16 in the fourth quarter. And you go through the course of the game, I mean, you had the one interception, and you're lucky in that game that there weren't more. I mean, the film didn't lie. It wasn't good film last Sunday from Bo.
Yeah, it could have been 4 picks. Yeah. So you're glad it wasn't that. And now you're facing a defense that is not as talented. You're facing an offense that got rid of Jacoby Myers. So if you look at Trey Tucker and Tyler Lockett, Jack Beck, which I always forget how to pronounce his name, so I apologize. And then, of course, Brock Bowers. Yeah. That's a conversation that everyone will be having post the game on Thursday night. Did you take care of business with Brock Bowers? In fact, Mace, it's one of those things of, if you can just tell me they did that against Bowers, like 50 yards, I can say, oh, the Broncos won that game.
Here's the thing. In their passing game, there's one guy you need to worry about, and it's Brock Bowers. I mean, now, it's the player at the position that has caused the Broncos problems. I mean, the Texans made plays from the tight end position. I mean, curiously, the only team recently that didn't exploit the Broncos from tight end was the Cowboys. And we talked about that leading into the game, and Dallas curiously decided, okay, we're not going to turn in Jake Ferguson's direction, which I think reveals a lot of other things that are wrong with the Cowboys. But with Las Vegas, especially now with Myers out of the equation, you've got to worry about one. You got to really worry about one guy when they go back to pass. Yeah. And it's Brock Bowers, and that's it. And you look at Las Vegas, like across the board in terms of their offense here, just kind of, to look at where they stack up here. I mean, it's a mess. They're 30th in DVOA. They're 30th in total offense. They're 26th in yards per play, 29th in rushing yards per game, 29th in rushing yards per rush, 24th in passing yards per game, 20th in passing yards per play, 22nd in sack rate, 29th in first downs, and 29th in red zone. I mean, it's an atrocious offense. I mean, the Broncos D should have its way with Vegas, even without Pat Surtain, as long as they contain Brock Bowers. There's one assignment in this game for the Broncos D. It's to contain Brock Bowers. You do that, you're gonna win this game, because you trust that a front seven at full strength is going to be able to largely contain Ashton Genty. And that's the key thing. It's at full strength. You've got, it's the rushing defense is noticeably improved since Malcolm Roach came back. So it's working well. It's working well there now. This is, there's one thing. There's one thing of concern, one item of concern, one assignment. Shut down Brock Bowers. And if you do that, you're winning this. You're winning this game comfortably. There's absolutely nothing to worry about if you can shut down Brock Bowers.
It's one assignment, and I have two thoughts on that, Mace. One is Jahdae Barron, your tight end, destroyer or whatever, and what he did against Jake Ferguson. Is that more Cowboys? Is that more Jahdae? And bracketing, of course, I think is part of the conversation here. And then the final thought I have is like, okay, you get him down. Vance Joseph talked about that. Like, he's going to get some catches, but you've got to make sure you limit or eliminate run after the catch. That's the thing with Bowers. He's a tight end, but he's really just a receiver that can pick up yards, tons of yards after the catch.
So everyone to the ball. That's the thing, because sometimes because it's going to take often more than one guy to bring him down. It takes the village. Fine. Everybody to the ball. Swarm. You do that, then he's not making those explosives. Okay. If you look up at the end of the day and Brock Bowers has, you said 50 yards, but okay, if you look at the end of the day and Brock Bowers has 10 catches for 70 yards, you're actually feeling pretty good about that because that means he probably didn't get an explosive on you. It means that he got the ball, but he didn't break many tackles. It means you limited the yardage after the catch. 10 catches for 70 yards or 75 yards or something like that for Brock Bowers is actually a win for the Broncos. You're feeling pretty good.
Feeling good if you are the Denver Broncos, looking good in those throwbacks, and maybe looking good in that new stadium eventually. We'll get to some newsy items, but first, how about a word from our sponsor?
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
All right, Mace, we have an update today about the future site, potential site of the Broncos Stadium, and now fans can keep up with it too, track along with what's going on there.
Yeah, there's a website, newstadium.denverbroncos.com. There will actually be a public hearing, primarily for people kind of in the area, in the neighborhoods near the stadium, to kind of where the new stadium would they'd like for it to be at Burnham Yard for feedback and so forth. That'll be in 2 weeks' time. But it's very interesting, and it's, I think, very notable that everything came out today. One day after the election, there were 5 bond issues that were on the ballot in the city of Denver. All of them passed. So I think it's very telling that this came from both the Broncos end and the city of Denver's end. I think it's very telling that this came out today, because what this I think ensures is the money for infrastructure, because while this is going to be privately financed, there's certain infrastructure things that the city is going to kick in terms of, roads and plumbing and so forth, that they want, that you need to make sure that there was the financing for. And that's why I think it was very notable that it came out today. And so so you can find it. The website is newstadium.denverbroncos.com. They submitted a large development review pre-application to the city, which is the preliminary plans for the development of the site. And it's actually interesting, like you can, that the detail that they've kind of gone into. Some of the plans are actually out there. I mean, as far as like where they want to put the stadium, which is toward the west side of it, and the idea of putting some green space on one side of it, the idea of having, light rail on one side, and even like the forethought of having access to a potential stop on a proposed front range passenger rail, which is a proposed rail line that would go ideally up and down the I-25 corridor, potentially as far north as Cheyenne and potentially as far south as Pueblo, and having a stop be near the stadium, within walking distance of the stadium. And so, I mean, that's the sort of thing that's notable to think about in terms of their 50-year plan for this site and this development. So,
and I'll follow your lead, Mace, because Mayor Mike Johnston has already said there's no plan B. I mean, this is the spot. We have to say, like, proposed site and all these sorts of things. Again, I will follow your lead, but it's like, no, it's Burnham Yard, everybody.
It's this, or they're not, or they're going to be outside of the city. Like, as in, it's this, or they probably circle back and they go to Lone Tree, I would imagine, or Aurora. Like, so basically, if they're staying in the city, it's going to be at Burnham Yard. Like, this is what they want, something that is near the city center, not quite downtown, but within shouting distance of downtown and right there by I-25. So it's what the city wants. It's what the team wants. And now it's just a matter of getting it going. If everything proceeds on schedule, timeline wise, you're probably looking at shovels in the ground, perhaps as early as 2027 to start building all this. With again a target of being in the stadium at 2031, but the other thing that also comes into play, of course, is it's not just the stadium; it's also a lot of development around it. There's an awful lot to this, and so that's why you may be talking about a 4-year potential construction timeline for all this, and because you are talking about stadium, residential, hotel, retail, all sorts of stuff. I mean, this is transformative for a significant chunk of Denver. And another thing that I liked about this is how, and you got to give them credit. I mean, there's a lot on this site. They are making a lot of note of the history of Burnham Yard and being pretty mindful of the history of the spot and the structures on there. I'm actually kind of curious to see how they plan to even integrate some of the structures that are there now. Is there some preservation of some of these and working them into the finished product? I mean, this is, and we've seen with some urban developments of stadiums, like you look at Ford Field, for example, and literally part of it is built out of an old department store warehouse type building. You see Camden Yards in Baltimore, it has a warehouse that's a part of that's adjacent to it, that's used as part of it. So I wonder, what we'll see perhaps from this development as far as using, if any of the old structures are repurposed, repackaged, and restored and developed as part of this. There's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, and of course we'll keep up to date on that. It's denversports.com, and give us that website for the stadium again.
newstadium.denverbroncos.com.
Okay, we'll keep in touch with that. We'll keep in touch with you here on YouTube. But Mace, how can folks help us out here on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss
Oh, air high five. That was perfect. He's Andrew Mason. I am Cecil Lammey. We are orange and blue today. You follow Mace on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?